Madam Speaker, we're on Amendment 5 by Representative Fitzhugh, spread on the member's desk. Madam Speaker, members, it was timely filed. Madam Speaker, members, it is similar to Amendment 23.
Representative Fitzhugh, you are recognized on Amendment number 5.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I will be brief because I think everyone has notice of these amendments and what they do. This amendment will simply postpone the implementation of the Common Core standards for 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not at all a slight at the standards, but rather a recognition we are moving way too quickly. We have evidence of that from the way we moved our evaluations along with teachers, and we know that if we'd have just taken a little time to get that right, we would have had a much better evaluation system and, frankly, wouldn't have lost many teachers. But we should learn from that, and we should know that many people, Republican and Democrat, have legitimate concerns about the Common Core standards. We don't get second chances with our children, so we need to get it right. So let's pause. Let this body and the professionals evaluate the standards and then move forward in a responsible manner. Madam Speaker, I move passage of adoption of Amendment number 5.
Representative Fitzhugh moves adoption of Amendment number 5, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Chairman Dunn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd like to ask some questions that if this was in front of me in education, I would naturally ask. Leader Fitzhugh, could I ask you a question about your amendment?
Madam Speaker.
When
yes,
you say that there'll be no further implementation, obviously these standards are in place, but implementation can be a very broad word in that this summer some LEAs may want to do in-service training with new teachers or old teachers, and that would be considered implementing the Common Core standards. And so are we saying you can't do anything with the standards, or what do you mean by this amendment?
Madam Speaker.
Leader.
I think the standards are there, and this bill merely does what it says. It postpones any further implementation for 2 years.
My question is implementation. When you implement these standards, there are actions that our LEAs take. We have them adopted. I don't know if maybe you meant the word that we're not going to adopt anymore or something like that, but implementing the standards, when you buy textbooks, when you do in-service training for your teachers, that's doing implementation of it. And so if we pass this amendment today, we've given them standards and said don't do anything with them. And I'm very sincere in this question.
I think the information or the word is what it is. It means we shall go no further to implement the Common Core standards. There are apparently standards, and any further move toward implementing those under the guise of Common Core would be postponed under this bill.
So for the legislative record, you're saying no implementation could mean not training teachers on the standards that the state has adopted?
Madam Speaker, if that means that's an implementation of Common Core standards, yes, that's what it means.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Chairman Brooks.
To the sponsor of the amendment, Mr. Leader, would you yield to a question?
Madam Speaker, yes, I'll yield.
I think, am I reading the language correct, that is further implementation, so therefore what is already in place, you're going to leave in place with this amendment, correct?
Correct.
When you say further implemented, are you saying if from the standpoint of passage and approval by the state school board? If something's already been approved, then you're good with it?
It does not undo anything that has been done, but it prevents anything going forward from this point for a period of 2 years.
Is it anything going forward in relationship to the Common Core concept in regard to standards? Or is it any standard For example, career technical education, those standards are being redone. They're unique to Tennessee because some of these classes are not taught anywhere else. So do you define that as part of the Common Core standards?
I'm not the one making the decision as to what Common Core standards are. I would assume that the professionals, the board, knows what those standards are, and if it is one of those standards, then it shall not move any further toward any further implementation.
So, clearly for the record, that any item that has already been approved, you're good with. Any future item that's Common Core standards, you want to slow it down according to this date.
The implementation of such, yes.
Thank you.
Further discussion, Representative Todd.
Move previous question.
Previous question has been called for. Is there objection? To previous question, there's objection. We're on the board. Those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does anybody wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 57, nays 28.
Previous question prevails. All those in favor of amendment number 5, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 68, 11A, 2 present not voting.
Amendment number 5 is adopted. Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, members, there was a request made by 12 or 13 members requesting roll call votes on all action on these bills today. Madam Speaker, members, we dealt with amendments 1 through 4 with voice vote. Madam Speaker, members, in order to honor that request, I think we may have to go back and reconsider our action on voting on amendments 1 through 4 for purposes of roll call to honor that request.
I think so, but I'll make sure you do. Leader McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd move that we move to reconsider our action so that we can go back and do a roll call vote on the first 4 amendments.
Sir. All right, Mr. Clerk, call up amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a motion to reconsider action is not sufficient.
Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, that motion was not objected to, but have you objected to that motion?
All right, there is objection to the motion. We're on the board. Those in favor of the motion vote aye. Those opposed vote no.
No. No.
Has everyone voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 43, 41 nay.
Motion passes. Reconsider our actions on First Amendment. Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
Madam Speaker, we're back on House Amendment 1 by Representative Brooks that was adopted by the body on a voice vote, but the request was made to have all votes on the electronic roll call system. So the motion would be to adopt Amendment 1 by Brooks by electronic roll call.
Representative McDaniel, for what purpose?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There was no explanation of Amendment number 1. There was just a vote, and I request that the sponsor tell us what Amendment number 1 does.
Parliamentary inquiry. Chairman Fitzhugh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I believe that was a special order which required a 2/3 majority vote on the last vote.
Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, that was not a special order. That was just reconsidering, and that was a prevailing majority. Madam Speaker, while I have the floor, could I please read the letter that was requested upon us? In spirit of transparency and fairness, ensuring that all people's representing voices are heard today, we, the undersigned, are invoking the application of Rule 29, demand of a roll call on any and all questions and motions during March 13, 2014 House regular calendar. As required by the Constitution of Tennessee, any 5 members of the House may request a roll call of the members' House. These votes shall be taken by the electronic roll call system. Madam Speaker, members, this was signed by 12 members, definitely over 5 members. So the request was made by the body to have these roll called. We're simply and required to honor the request of the members for roll call vote on all these actions.
Chairman Fitzhugh, for what purpose?
Madam Speaker, I don't want to delay this because I think we can get it done. But 2 points I want to make. I still believe this is a special order. But secondly, I would this wasn't brought to the members' attention. So there may be a situation where that for those particular items was waived because no member objected to it at the time. So it's certainly not the members that were aware of it and were cognizant or signatories on the letter. So I think we've moved beyond that, and I'm not so sure that a motion to reconsider our action is even proper at this stage in time. Does not the rule state that it cannot be made in the same day?
Mr. Clerk?
Madam Speaker, members, that rule is applicable only on third and final consideration, and that is accurate. You cannot do that in the same day, but that's only on third and final consideration. And the motion was made on the amendment to reconsider action.
Sir. Chairman?
See, the assistant clerk, who I will believe. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Leader Turner?
Madam Speaker, I have a parliamentary inquiry too. I think that was a special order, and then the clerk says it was not. But I love the clerk, and I love the speaker, but I request you to cite the rule on special orders. I think that was required special order.
The clerk has ruled. Further discussion? Mr. Clerk?
Madam Speaker, I want to read Rule 13, Special Orders. It shall require an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members of which this House is entitled under the Constitution to set a special order of business. However, when a motion has been made to set for a special order, any bill, resolution, or motion having failed for lack of 2/3 majority, but having received a majority vote of the members of the House present, it shall be in order upon 5 members of the House, the Committee on Calendar Rules, to meet and report the adoption or rejection by majority vote of the House a rule or order fixing a time for the consideration of said bill or measure. It shall require a majority vote of the members of this House to postpone any special order set. The motion to reconsider the vote for a roll call vote on Amendment 1 was not a special order of business and did not require a 2/3 majority, a simple prevailing majority.
Chairman Dunn, you seek recognition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the person who's complaining, I believe his signature is on this letter asking for this. If I'm correct, he can correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Leader?
Chairman Fitzhugh, you're being addressed.
Mr. Leader? Is this your signature on the letter asking for these votes?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Well,
according to this, Madam Speaker, according to this letter, the leader and the other signers of this have asked us on any and all questions and motions today. I think that goes way back to the very beginning of what we've done. And if that was the intention of the people who signed this, then we probably need to take up and start from day one with hour one with personal orders.
The gentleman is right, and that's what I bought. There was no objection by any of the signatories on that letter.
Chairman
Clerk, is that the rule that
Mr. Clerk?
Madam Speaker, members, the letter was filed. Quite honestly, I did not know that was on any and all. I knew the intent was on the amendments of this bill. I got the letter out to make sure we were complying with it, but it was not objected to on all other bills, so I don't think it was breaking what was requested because it was not objected to by any of the membership.
Chairman Dunn, you're recognized.
And Mr. Clerk, believe me, I do not fault you. It's not your fault that we are in this situation.
Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I have the sponsor of the bill, would you yield? I'd like to ask the sponsor of the bill, not the amendment, the bill, a question.
Yep. We're just coming.
Representative Hill,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask you a question, please.
Yes, sir.
When you were in committee in sub-education and full education, we asked you at the time because we worked very, very hard to rewrite your bill to get it out of education. At that time, we asked you if it was amended in any way that you would bring it back to our committee, and you said yes. I would like to ask you now at this time to put an end to this shenanigan going on in this room and move it back to education now. Will you honor your word?
Well, Chairman White, I certainly appreciate.
Yes or no?
You know what? Madam Speaker, in accordance with my agreement, Full Education Committee on January 21st, without objection, everybody listening? Without objection, I move House Bill 1129 back to full education to be heard.
There is objection. Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, members, I apologize, but Madam Speaker, members, that motion is out of order at the moment. We are on Amendment 1. The motion to reconsider for passage of Amendment 1 prevailed. We are on Amendment 1, and until we deal with Amendment 1, we cannot deal with any other motion until we dispose of Amendment 1.
You have heard the ruling of the clerk. We are on Amendment 1, sponsored by Representative Brooks. Representative Brooks, you are recognized. Chairman Brooks.
Renew my motion.
Chairman Brooks renews his motion to adopt. We're voting on adoption of Amendment number 1. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted?
Yes.
Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 87, no nays, one present not voting.
Amendment number 1 is adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, we are back on Amendment 2. Madam Speaker, members, Amendment 2 was Education Committee Amendment. House Education Committee Amendment 2, spread on the member's desk, was previously adopted by voice vote, and now the motion would be to reconsider by roll call vote.
Representative Brooks, you are recognized.
Renew my motion, ma'am.
Representative Brooks renews his motion for adoption of Amendment number 2. All those in favor of Amendment number 2 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 92, one nay.
Amendment number 2 is adopted. Next amendment.
Madam Speaker, we're back on Amendment 3 that was previously considered and withdrawn by the sponsor, but we need to act on roll call system for vote on withdrawal of Amendment 3. We're on Amendment 3 by Dunn.
Chairman Dunn, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In order to get as far away from this fiasco as possible, I withdraw Amendment 3.
All right, we're on the board for withdrawal of Amendment number 3. All those in favor of withdrawal vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 90, no nays.
Amendment number 3 is withdrawn. Next amendment.
Madam Speaker, we're back on Amendment 4, previously considered and withdrawn by the sponsor on voice vote. Madam Speaker, we're on Amendment 4.
Representative Fitzhugh, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This was the pre-K amendment, which was previously withdrawn. I move to withdraw.
We're on the board on withdrawal of amendment number 4. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk. Amendment number 4 is withdrawn. Next amendment.
Madam Speaker, we're now on House Amendment 5 by Fitzhugh, spread on the member's desk. Madam Speaker, members, it was timely filed. Madam Speaker, members, it's the same as Amendment 23. Madam Speaker, for the purposes of clarification to the body, this is the amendment that we were on. That hold on. Okay. Madam Speaker, members, this amendment was adopted by the body. So what we would be doing is voting on the adoption on the board. So we're back on. We did. Amendment 5 was voted on the board and prevailed. So Amendment 5 was adopted. Is that right? Okay.
Next amendment.
Madam Speaker, we're on Amendment 6.
Chairman, for what purpose?
It's a parliamentary inquiry,
Yes, sir.
Madam Speaker. When we came back and took votes on the other amendments, is it necessary for us now to revote the rest of the amendments down, which only affects one, only affects the one we just got through, which is Amendment 5, from a strictly parliamentary standpoint, since we redid actions in the others, even though we actually took the same action on 5, does going back...
But Amendment 5 was adopted on the board.
Mr. Clerk?
Madam Speaker, members. Madam Speaker, members, it is my understanding that by adopting Amendment 1 through, or dealing with amendments and adopting the amendments after 5, Amendment 1 did have language stripping of the previous clauses, so it would be necessary to keep this correctly in order to readopt Amendment 5. So then the House is on Amendment 5 by Fitzhugh.
Representative Fitzhugh, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move for adoption.
Representative Fitzhugh moves adoption of amendment number 5, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. Any objection to the question? All those in favor of adoption of amendment number 5, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 86, nay, 2 present, not voting.
Amendment number 5 is adopted. Next amendment.
All right, Madam Speaker, members, we are where we backtracked. We are on Amendment 6. Amendment 6 by Representative Johnson, spread on the member's desk. Madam Speaker, members, it was timely filed.
Representative Johnson, you recognize.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to withdraw.
Without objection, withdrawn. Oh, excuse me. We're on the board for withdrawal purposes. All in favor of withdrawal, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 89, no nays.
Amendment number 6 is withdrawn. Next amendment.
Madam Speaker, we're on Amendment 7 by Representative Fitzhugh, spread on the member's desk. Madam Speaker, members, it was timely filed.
Representative Fitzhugh, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This continues the 2-year delay that we voted for earlier in Common Core for the PARCC testing. We have heard many stories of the new PARCC test that's coming in that, frankly, our school systems are just not prepared for that. And for that reason, and in conjunction with the prior adoption amendment that was adopted, this gives us time to catch up on this PARCC testing, and I move adoption of the motion of the amendment to delay the PARCC testing for the same period of time, 2 years.
Representative Fitzhugh moves adoption of amendment number 7, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. Representative Todd.
Move previous question.
Previous question has been called for. Is there objection? There is. We are on the board on previous question. Those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 53, nays 38.
Previous question fails. We are back on discussion of amendment number 7. Discussion. Representative Dunn.
This is probably more of a question to the clerk. Earlier, we'd had a discussion about fiscal notes on these amendments. At what point are we made aware that there's a fiscal note on amendment? Should we know when the amendment is first called on or after it's adopted?
Excuse me, Clerk.
Madam Speaker, members, as I am aware of, the only ones that I am aware, again, as was previously stated, because they're duplicative of bills that have been filed, so it was easy to ascertain amendments 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, and I believe 23 clearly have fiscal notes attached that have, according to our rules, the language not significant. I'm sorry. I read that right. It's, the final amendment was 22, not 23.
Further discussion on amendment number 7. Representative Reagan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm sorry I was confused by the clerk's explanation there. Which amendments have significant fiscal notes on them and which don't?
Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker and members, again, I don't know if any of the amendments would require a fiscal note without the exception of what I'm about to say. These amendments are duplicative of bills, and the bills have fiscal notes, so they were easy to ascertain. Again, I will read the ones that I know of are Amendment 10, Amendment 11, Amendment 13, Amendment 14, Amendment 15, Amendment 17, Amendment 18, Amendment 23. Those are the known. I'm sorry, 22. Those are the known fiscal notes that say anything other than not significant.
Representative Reagan.
Clarity. They have significant fiscal notes. Yes?
Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, our rules specifically say if the fiscal note says anything other than not significant, then they shall be referred to the Finance Committee. I know that those amendments have a fiscal note stating other than not significant.
Representative Reagan.
Again, I'm not clear because not significant can be a positive or a negative fiscal note. So can you clarify which is which, please?
Mr. Clerk.
Yeah. As far as I know,
Madam Speaker and members, Rule 72, adopted by this body, if I could read the whole rule, any bill or resolution having a fiscal effect other than not significant as indicated on the fiscal note shall be referred to the Committee on Finance, Ways and Means after consideration by the appropriate standing committee. The Committee on Finance, Ways and Means may offer committee amendments relating to the fiscal concerns and shall offer amendments relating to substantive portions of the bills. If the Committee of Finance, Ways and Means recommends a bill or resolution for passage, the bill or resolution shall be referred to the Committee on Calendar and Rules. Madam Speaker, members, if I could point this out, no bill or resolution having a fiscal effect other than not significant as indicated on the fiscal note shall be put upon final passage until the same has been referred to and recommended by the Committee on Finance, Ways and Means. Should a standing committee recommend a bill for passage with an amendment or amendments which create a fiscal effect other than not significant as indicated on the fiscal note, then the chair of the standing committee shall refer to the bill along to the recommended committee amendment and amendments to the Committee on Finance, Ways and Means. Should a floor amendment or amendments to a bill be adopted which cause a bill to have a fiscal effect other than not significant as indicated on the fiscal note, and the bill not have been previously considered by the Committee on Finance, Ways and Means, then the bill shall be automatically referred from the floor to the Committee on Finance, Ways and Means.
We're back on amendment number 7. Discussion on the amendment. Representative Carr. Representative Carr.
My question may be out of order, but this question is directed to the Speaker, potentially for the clerk. And for the sake of clarity as we move forward, would it be possible for you to instruct the clerk that when each amendment is brought up, that the clerk instruct the body that there is a physical note assigned to that amendment to the best of his knowledge? Would that be possible?
Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, members, I can report to the body only when I know there is a physical note. That is not my role as a clerk to determine physical notes, but I can report known physical notes.
Representative Carr.
And Madam Speaker, that's exactly what I'm requesting. I'm not asking the clerk to make an assessment if there is a physical note. I'm asking him to inform the body in the case of his knowledge of a physical note on an amendment that's being properly presented.
All amendments will be addressed. Leader McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was going to inquire if I needed to make a motion and have a roll call vote to request that the clerk do that as part of our agreement. Is that taking it too far? I won't make it.
The will of the body.
Amendment 7.
We are on amendment number 7. Chairman Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move previous question on amendment number 7.
Previous question has been called for. That is vote for previous question. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. All those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Aye, 68, 16 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting on amendment number 7. All those in favor of amendment number 7 vote aye when the machine... All those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 88, no nays.
Amendment number 7 is adopted. Next amendment. Chairman Sargent, for what reason?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a list of the ones that do have fiscal notes, but I also believe that item number 7 did have one. I do not have that in front of me, and I believe item number 8 has one. I just want to make that announcement. I do not have the note from amendment number 10 there out. I have fiscal notes in front of me on all those, so when someone requests a fiscal note, I can give them the number.
Very good. Leader, Chairman Matheny.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I move we go with the facts before us, and I call for the question on the bill.
Question has been called for. Mr. Clerk, is that in order?
Madam Speaker, members, that motion is in order. We have remaining, for the record, Madam Speaker, we have 27 amendments filed on the bill, but that motion is properly in order.
We're voting on previous question. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Aye, 78, 14 nay.
Previous question prevails. We're now back on the bill. Chairman Sargent, for what purpose?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have to get with fiscal review. I'm going to have to go over to get my administrative person because I believe this does have a fiscal note on item number 7, does have a fiscal amendment, and I'd like a minute or so to make sure on that.
Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, members, we are on previous question. Previous question has prevailed. Now we're on previous question of House Bill or Senate Bill 1266 as amended.
We are voting on Senate Bill 1266. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 82, 11 nay.
House Bill 1266, having reached a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Next bill.